hello and greetings, motherfactors! I'm Sam, and today I'm here to talk to you about Canada. About. See what I did there? Probably kind of racist. Sorry. That's right, the land of maple syrup, handsome prime ministers, and the land of the beaver. No sniggering at the back, you. But how, oh how, did Canada's coins become known as loonies and toonies? How did a cliff formation in Alberta get its name from a horrific and gruesome death? And how many times did I break down and cry while listening to Celine Dion's My Heart Will Go On to prepare for this video? Here's a hint, more than I should have done. 2 out of 3 of those questions are going to be answered, so strap on your seatbelt, apologise to the seatbelt for strapping it in too hard, and grab a big gulp of Tim Hortons coffee. Because this is 101 facts about Canada. Number 1. The name Canada comes from the St. Lawrence Iroquoian word Kanata, which means village or settlement. This turned out to be somewhat of an understatement because... pause for emphasis. Number 2. One of the first things you should realise about Canada is that it's huge. It's the second largest country by total area and the 4th largest by land area, covering 9.98 million square kilometres. Number 3. If you are somehow struggling to grasp the sheer enormity of Canada, you should know that Canada spans across not 1, not 2, not even 3, 4, or 5, but 6 time zones. Number 4. Canada also has the world's largest coastline at 202,080 kilometres. That's almost 4 times longer than the coastline of the second-placed country, Indonesia, which has a coastline measuring a measly 54,716 kilometres. Get it together, Indonesia. Nah, just kidding. Size doesn't matter. I've heard. Number 5. Canada is home to the world's northernmost permanently inhabited place, the aggressively named Alert, found in the territory of Nunavut. The temperature in Alert only rises above freezing in the summertime, descending in the winter to a truly horrifying average temperature of around minus 40 degrees. As such, the population of Alert is quite understandably a tiny, probably constantly shivering 62 people. Number 6. Canada has the longest binational land border, which it shares with the United States, who I understand love a good border. It measures in at 8,891 kilometres long, much of which is made up of the border between Canada and the American state of Alaska. Number 7. Despite Canada being absolutely chuffing massive, the vast majority of Canadians live within a couple hundred kilometres of this border, probably due to the fact that anywhere further north than this is genital-shrinkingly cold. Number 8. The capital city of Canada is Ottawa, home to a population of around 934,000 people. Despite being the capital, Ottawa is not the largest Canadian city and is in fact the 5th. Come on, Ottawa, get it together. Number 9. The name Ottawa comes from the Anishinaabe word meaning trade or exchange and is rather disappointingly nothing to do with otters. Oh man, I love otters. What am I going to do with this picture of otters now? Oh, let's look at this for a sec. Okay, let's move on. Number 10. The largest city in Canada is actually Toronto, home of 2,731,571 people. Toronto is also the birthplace of rapper Drake. Are these facts related? You decide. Number 11. Toronto actually used to be called York. God, first New York, now this? What is it with North Americans always stealing our place names? Number 12. Canada is officially bilingual, with both English and French having equal status at the federal level across Canada, as well as all over people's tongues. English is the mother tongue of approximately 60% of the people, whereas Le Français is the mother tongue of around 20% of the population. I've said tongue so many times now. Tongue. Ugh. Number 13. Before the arrival of European colonisers in the early 16th century, Canada had been inhabited by Indigenous people for thousands of years. These people are generally split into 3 groups: First Nations, Inuit, and Métis. And together, they spoke over 60 different languages from 10 separate language families. And this was way before Google Translate, remember, so life must have been incredibly difficult. You'd be asking someone for soup and accidentally asking to rot with their aunt or something. Number 14. The First Nations are Canadians from Indigenous groups south of the Arctic Circle. In fact, there are 634 recognised First Nations communities across Canada. Number 15. Heading north, we find the Inuit people, who are spread across several countries in the Arctic Circle. As agriculture was never really an option in the freezing climates of the Inuits' home, unless they were farming for ice, Inuit culture is very heavily centered around a proud hunting tradition. Hardcore. Number 16. The Métis are Canadians of mixed Indigenous and European heritage. Actually, the word Métis simply means mixed. These mixed communities tended to marry among themselves, and they probably held a hell of a mash too, eventually developing a distinct cultural identity of their own. Good for them. Number 17. The Nunavut territory in northern Canada was only created in 1999, back when Prince was partying, and prior to that it was included entirely in the Northwestern Territories. This was done to give the native Inuit population more autonomy over their affairs. Number 18. Just so you know, the most recently created Canadian province or territory, which is Nunavut, remember, accounts for over a fifth of the nation's entire land area, making it about 210 times the size of Canada's smallest province or territory, Prince Edward Island. If Nunavut was its own country, it would be the 15th largest country on the planet. Once again, Canada is very, very big. They just don't flaunt it very often, probably out of politeness or something. Number 19. The first Prime Minister of Canada was John A. Macdonald, who served as the nation's leader twice. First between 1867 and 1873, and then again between 1878 and 1891. He is remembered fondly for having a farm. Oh no, sorry, that's the other Macdonald. He is remembered fondly for helping form modern-day Canada, and remembered less fondly for his party taking bribes from railway companies and his insistence that French-speaking resistance leader Louis Riel be executed. Don't mess with Macdonald's farm. Number 20. The current Prime Minister of Canada is Justin Trudeau. Oh, what a dreamboat. Who is the eldest son of former Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau, making him the first Canadian Prime Minister to be related to a former holder of the post. In case you're thinking that's false, it's actually Trudeau. Okay, sorry. Number 21. Justin Trudeau is also the first president who was actually born in the capital of Ottawa. The more you know. Number 22. As far as we know, Justin Trudeau is the only Canadian Prime Minister to have a tattoo, which depicts the Earth surrounded by a Haida raven. The more I find out about him, the dreamier he gets. Number 23. Canada only became completely independent in 1982, with the passing of the Constitution Act. Prior to that, the British Parliament retained the power to amend Canada's constitution at the request of the Parliament of Canada. Yeah, sorry, we did that a lot back then. Number 24. Despite being a sovereign nation, Canada's head of state is Queen Elizabeth II, who, as you may or may not know, lives primarily in England. Love you, your Madge. Her position as Yas Queen is represented in Canada by Governor General, a position currently held by David Johnston. Number 25. As mentioned previously, Canada is officially bilingual at the federal level, and the heart of French-speaking Canada is found in the province of Quebec. The people of Quebec have a strong identity of their own, so much so that there has been 2 separate votes on making Quebec an independent country. The second of these was agonisingly close. With over 5 million votes cast, those campaigning to remain part of Canada won with a ridiculously slim majority of 50.56% of the vote. Oh boy, this comment section's going to be fun, isn't it? Number 26. The name Quebec comes from the Algonquin word Quebec, which means where the river narrows. This refers to the narrowing of the St. Lawrence River, and no, that's not my St. Lawrence. Lovely Jen. Oh, Jen. Oh, she narrows for no man. Number 27. Montreal, the largest city in Quebec, is the second biggest city in the world after Paris, with a French-speaking population. That's something an incorrect person would say. This often cited Montreal factoid hasn't been true for a while, as Montreal have been overtaken by 2 French-speaking cities in Africa, pushing Montreal into 4th place. Faites-le ensemble, Montreal. Number 28. Of Canada's population of over 35 million people, just over 7 million are native French speakers. C'est bon, fellas. Number 29. Montreal is a very funny place. I'm even laughing just saying it, because it's the home of the Just for Laughs Festival, which is the largest international comedy festival in the world, and no, I haven't been invited. The official Just for Laughs mascot is named Victor, who looks like some kind of evil Mike Wazowski. Ugh. Number 30. Though both Canada and the United States both celebrate Thanksgiving, Canada holds theirs a few weeks earlier than the Americans on the second Monday in October. This is all very confusing for those of us who don't celebrate Thanksgiving, although not quite as confusing as to why we don't. I mean, I'm thankful for stuff too. And I like turkey, sometimes if it's moist. Ugh, moist. Number 31. Roughly 40% of Canada's total landmass is covered in forest. Tremendous! Oh, I hate myself. Number 32. Though possibly the most famous lake monster resides in a Scottish loch, Canada has its own famous sea serpent, known as Ogopogo. Supposedly living in Okanagan Lake, British Columbia, Ogopogo is, apparently, between 15 metres and 25 metres long. Number 33. Halifax, the capital of the province of Nova Scotia, is closer to Dublin, Ireland than it is to Victoria, British Columbia. My God. Say it with me, Canada is big. Number 34. Putting its numerous snowy hills and mountains to good use, Canada holds the record for the most gold medals won by a country in a Winter Olympics, winning 14 medals for various forms of not falling over on slippery surfaces. Well done, guys. Number 35. Though Canadians are stereotypically polite and slow to anger, one notable exception is the popular comic book character Wolverine, who is from Alberta, Canada, bub. His frenemy, but mostly the enemy bit, Deadpool, also hails from the Great White North, too. Number 36. Oh. Canadians may be many things, but statistically speaking, stupid is not one of them. Canada is one of the most educated countries in the world. It's the only country on Earth in which more than 50% of the population is university educated. Show-offs. Number 37. Canadians are indeed a sporty lot too, and have contributed much to the world of sport. For instance, basketball was invented in 1891 by Canadian James Naismith while teaching in Massachusetts. Originally, the baskets were actual baskets with closed bottoms. Every time the team scored, the ball had to be retrieved until someone had the bright idea to remove the bottom from the basket, no doubt making the game about 10 times less irritating. Number 38. Canada is well known for its distinctive dress national police force, known as the Mounties. Officially called the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, they keep people in Canada safe from crime and the prospect of not having fabulously attired federal law enforcement. Both equally important jobs. Number 39. In addition to being enormous, cold and bilingual, Canada is also pretty gosh darned progressive. In 2005, Canada became the third country in the world and the first country in the Americas to legalise same-sex marriage. Woo! Go Canada! Number 40. As it bears the image of the hilariously named common loon, the Canadian $1 coin is commonly known as a loonie. When the $2 coin was introduced, Canadians dubbed it the toonie, an imaginative fusion of the words two and loony, putting those university degrees to good use, I see. Number 41. As the vast majority of Canadians are in fact human, they require food in order not to die. There's a life hack for you. Canada has put its own unique twist on food, resulting in a number of delicious local dishes. Probably the most well-known internationally is poutine, which consists of fries topped with cheese curds and gravy and is both French-Canadian in origin and possibly the best frickin' idea I've ever heard. God bless you, Canada. The meaning of life. The lovable Winnie the Pooh is in fact Canadian in origin. Author A.A. Milne based the adorable yellow bear on a real bear from Winnipeg, Manitoba. Although it can't have looked exactly the same, right? Also, Winnie the Pooh doesn't exactly sound Canadian, but hey, who are we to judge? I've never made a lovable bear. Number 43. In perhaps the most stereotypical fact known to man, Canada is by far the world's biggest producer of maple syrup, with around 70% of the planet's supply coming from Quebec alone. Number 44. Maple trees and their delicious blood is so integral to Canadian identity that the maple leaf, as well as being an ice hockey team, is considered to be one of the nation's most important symbols and features prominently on their national flag. See, look very carefully. There it is. Number 45. Most polar bears are Canadian. Around 60% of the world's polar bear population of approximately 25,000 live in Canada. Maybe they're who Winnie the Pooh is based on. Number 46. Canada is made up of 10 provinces and 3 territories. The provinces are Alberta, British Columbia, Manitoba, New Brunswick, Newfoundland and Labrador, Nova Scotia, Ontario, Prince Edward Island, Quebec, and, Saskatchewan. And the territories are the Northwest Territories, Nunavut, and Yukon. The difference between these provinces and territories are to do with rights. Territories are controlled by the federal government, whereas the provincial governments have far more individual control of their affairs. Number 47. Despite the fact that Canadian territories account for roughly 40% of the country's landmass, only 0.3% of Canadians actually live there. Again, this is probably due to the fact it's disgustingly, wretchedly, hellishly cold. And that's coming from someone who lives in England. Number 48. Canada has at least 2 million lakes, more than all the lakes in every other country combined, which, frankly, seems a bit like lake overkill to me. Number 49. Stoners rejoice. Just give them a second to rejoice, they're a bit slow. Medicinal marijuana is legal in Canada, and the country is due to legalise the use of cannabis for recreational use in 2018. 420 blaze it. Am I doing it right? Number 50. The Canadian national anthem, imaginatively titled O Canada, was written in 1880 and was in French. It did not become Canada's official national anthem until 1980, 10 years after the government bought the rights for the song for $1. Bargain. Number 51. Clearly, Canadians love their national anthem, so much so the nation's official phone number is 1-800-O-Canada. Seriously, not getting O Canada. I didn't even know nations had phone numbers, but that is truly great. Number 52. Rather confusingly, Hawaiian pizza was invented in Canada by Greek pizzeria owner. Hawaiian, Canada, Greek. What? Hawaiian pizza has become a polarizing pizza variety, with many people happily munching on a pineapple pie, but many others decrying Hawaiian pizza as a hellish machination of Satan. I'm in that camp. I think it's a crime against God. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who tweeted his love for Hawaiian pizza in 2017, appears to be in the former camp, although this could genuinely start a civil war. Number 53. There's a place in Canada called Dildo. I'm just going to pause for 5 seconds so you can make your own jokes up. I just thought of one. Okay, let's move on. Number 54. Santa Claus is Canadian, according to the Canadian Immigration Minister. Yeah? Santa Claus, Canadian, is he? Yeah? Well, the Easter Bunny is British, and the Tooth Fairy is from Croydon. 2 can play at that game, buddy. Number 55. Half of Canada's provinces, which account for more than 85% of the population, are governed by women. Woo! Girl power. Spice up your life. When 2 become 1. No, that's just another Spice Girls song. Number 56. Canadian McDonald's sell the McLobster. There it is. Look at that. Looks good. Number 57. A 2013 study found Canadians to be the second happiest people in the world. However, as of 2017, 4 years later, Canadians dropped to 7th in the happiness rankings. Oh, Canada. Canada. You okay, buddy? We're here if you need to talk to us about anything. Number 58. Stereotypically, Canadians are known for their humble and polite nature, often depicted as frequent apologisers, and I'm sorry for that, Canada. Determined to confirm this stereotype at all costs, Canada has an Apology Act, which allows apologies in court to be given as a show of compassion and empathy, but not necessarily an admission of guilt. Number 59. Canada has more donut shops per capita than any other country. In fact, they love donuts so much, a lot of the country itself is frosted. Get it? With frost, not sugar? Didn't land very well, did it? You try something. Number 60. Canada is the home to the Trans-Canada Highway, a transcontinental highway system that stretches an incredible 8,030 kilometres through all 10 of Canada's provinces. I can't help but feel it'd be better as a monorail. Everything's better if it was a monorail. Number 61. The highest mountain in Canada is Mount Logan, which isn't named after Wolverine, but stands at an impressive 5,959 metres tall, making it the second highest mountain in North America after Alaska's Denali. In the year 2000, then Prime Minister Jean Chrétien announced his plan to rename the mountain after former Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau. This plan was later abandoned, however, when it became clear that pretty much everybody thought it was an awful, horrible, not good idea. Number 62. In Saskatchewan, hoodies are known as bunny hugs. Ah, how cute. Look at Drake and his bunny hug. Wait, that just sounds weird. Number 63. Though Canada itself is not an island, it is home to 3 of the world's biggest, namely Baffin Island, Ellesmere Island, and Victoria Island. Nintendo 64. The province of Alberta is home to the curiously named Head Smashed In Buffalo Jump, a cliff formation where Indigenous Canadians would hunt large numbers of buffalo in the traditional manner, that is, by driving them so they'd run off a cliff, like lemmings. Legend has it that a young Blackfoot wanted to watch the buffalo fall to their deaths from below, but ended up being crushed to death underneath them. When he was uncovered, his head was smashed in and the name stuck. Wow, I sounded way too happy about that. Sorry, dead kid. Number 65. Saint Louis du Ha. Ha is a parish in Quebec that has the honour of being the only town in the world with 2 exclamation points in its name. And, honestly, us at 101 Towers have been on this, and as far as we can tell, that's literally the only interesting thing about the place. In fact, Clive's there right now and he can't find anything. Might just leave him there. Number 66. 2/3 of the world's supply of cesium comes from one mine in the Burnick Lake, Manitoba. Cesium, oh, I love that stuff on a salad. Oh no, wait, that's Caesar. Oh no, wait, that's not even something you put on salad. I know nothing about salad. Number 67. At least 35% of music broadcast on Canadian radio has to be Canadian in origin or face the wrath of the law. This policy is known as CanCon and is meant to support the work of Canadian artists. Wow, that must be a lot of Rush, Drake and Celine Dion. Number 68. License plates in Nunavut and the Northern Territories used to be shaped like polar bears. However, this is no longer the case. I guess all good things must come to an end. Number 69. Oh, Canada. Pedants must love Canada because it was they who gave us Trivial Pursuit, specifically Canadians Scott Abbott and Chris Haney in 1979. Thanks, chaps, for ruining every Christmas family get-together ever. Number 70. Insulin, a hormone produced by the pancreas, love that stuff, was first isolated at the University of Toronto in 1921-22 by Dr. Frederick Banting, great name, and Charles Best, even better name. Number 71. Canadians don't exactly look like they do in South Park, sorry to disappoint, what with their flappy heads. Creators Matt Stone and Trey Parker revealed that when their show began to be criticised for its simplistic animation style, they created Canadian characters Terrence and Phillip with deliberately simplistic head movements as a sarcastic response. Eventually, they decided it would be funny if all Canadians in the show looked similar. Number 72. 20% of the world's fresh water is in Canada, those freshwater hogging, polite, apologising Canadian scumbags. Oh, I can't stay mad at you guys for long. Number 73. Canada's National Day, creatively named Canada Day, is celebrated on the 1st of July on the anniversary of the enactment of the Constitution Act 1867, which joined British colonies in the area into one single dominion called Canada. Although Canada existed before 1867, this date is used as it commemorates an important move towards Canada's status as a strong, independent nation that don't need no man. Hey, it's number 74. Nickelback are from Canada. This isn't a particularly interesting fact, I just thought I'd remind everyone that Nickelback exist, and they're not actually as bad as people say they are. Hey, I wanna be a rock star. Number 75. Canada is well known for its stubborn and some would say misguided belief that milk is best stored in bags, a notion regarded as near heretical in other Western nations. In much of Canada, milk is sold in units of 3 roughly 1-litre bags that are housed in a plastic milk jug when being used. Ugh, it's enough to make you feel physically sick. Number 76. Though Canada may provide only 70% of the world's supply of maple syrup, it provides 100% of the world's supply of Justin Bieber. Which is better? You decide. If you haven't heard of Justin Bieber, I can only assume you're a member of an uncontacted Amazonian tribe, in which case, welcome to the internet. Be careful out there. Number 77. Canada's best-selling musician is Celine Dion, who is perhaps most famous for singing the theme tune to Titanic. Despite mostly singing in French and English, she also sings in Spanish, German, Italian, Japanese, Latin, and Mandarin Chinese. Wow, and I can barely speak English. Number 78. Beavers are Canada's official animal symbol and are featured on the Canadian 5-cent coin. And no, I'm not going to make any beaver jokes. I'm better than that. Number 79. Canada is also home to the world's longest freshwater beach. It's called Wasaga Beach, in case you ever want to visit. Number 80. The coldest temperature ever recorded in Canada was -63 Celsius, or -81.4 Fahrenheit, on February the 3rd, 1957, in Snag, Yukon. Nope. Not for me, literally no. I value my nipples too much. Number 81. Canadian actor Leslie Nielsen's brother, Eric, was the Deputy Prime Minister of Canada for 2 years, from 1984 to 1986. Eric said he was often mistook for his comedian brother. Surely it can't have been that common. But don't call me Shirley. You must have known where I was going with that, surely. Number 82. There are nearly 2.5 million caribou in Canada, which frankly seems like too many caribou to me. Oh dear. Number 83. The Canadian dollar is sometimes described as a petrocurrency. A country is said to have a petrocurrency when a sufficiently large proportion of their wealth comes from the sale of oil, which causes the value of their currency to rise and fall with the price of oil. Number 84. Toronto is home to the CN Tower, which was the world's tallest freestanding building until the construction of the Burj Khalifa and the Canton Tower. Standing at a mighty 1,815.3 feet, it is now the third tallest building in the world, but remains the tallest building in the Western Hemisphere. Spider-Man would have a field day, although not Spider-Man the new one because he's scared of heights, but later Spider-Man. Number 85. According to one study, the cleanest city in the world is Calgary in Alberta. Funnily enough, though, this study didn't include the presence of visible litter in its standard of clean, so make of that what you will before you dine off its very streets. Number 86. The environmentalist organisation Greenpeace began in Vancouver. Thanks, Canada. Number 87. The northernmost point in Canada is Cape Columbia. It's the most northern point of land outside Greenland. Damn you, Greenland. It's probably Santa's luxurious crib that ruined that fact for us. Number 88. Canada shares 4 of the 5 Great Lakes found along the border with the United States of America, with Lake Michigan being located entirely within the USA. Damn it, USA, ruining that fact with your lake hogging. Number 89. Whitehorse, the capital city of the Yukon, not literally Uncheval Blanc, is the driest city in Canada. Reminds me of my ex-wife. Actually, I'm not going to go there. Number 90. Hockey and lacrosse are Canada's national sports. Lacrosse is thought to derive from Indigenous sports from absolutely bloody ages ago, which makes it, really, quite an old-fashioned sport. Old boy. Number 91. Wow, that went quick. The Canadian motto is Amari Usque ad mare. It means from sea to sea, which is kind of a weird moral, really, because it's not about good or evil or anything. It's just the literal definition of what a country is. Maybe I need to go to bed. Number 92. Canada has a coin that features a glow-in-the-dark dinosaur. You know you're in a fun country when one of the coins is basically a pog. Number 93. It's currently illegal for comic books in Canada to depict criminal acts. However, the government is probably going to change this quite soon, as it makes pretty much any superhero comic quite dull. I mean, what are they stopping? Number 94. Canada is a very inclusive country. In fact, recent statistics show that 1 in 5 Canadians were born outside of Canada itself. Number 95. Oh, jeez, this is going to be fun. Okay, let's give this a go. Petquotchnamezik Kesawabenik Lake is the longest place name in Canada. Whew, I need to lie down, and frankly, a medal after saying that. Number 96. Founded in 1867, the Moosehead Brewery in New Brunswick is the oldest independent brewery in Canada and churns out an incredible 1,642 bottles of beer per minute. Per minute! That's about as often as I can drink them because I am an absolute lad. Number 97. Canada is also famous for its ice wines, which are wines made from grapes that were frozen while still on the vine. More than 75% of Canada's ice wine comes from Ontario, so move there if you're into low temperatures and wine. Number 98. In another phenomenal appeal to stereotypes, there are, on average per year, 247 car accidents in Canada that involve moose. And I mean the animal moose, by the way, not the chocolate mousse that you can use as a dessert or an aphrodisiac. Number 99. Edmonton, the provincial capital of Alberta, is home to North America's largest mall, the West Edmonton Mall, spanning the equivalent of 48 city blocks. As if shopping wasn't, long enough. Number 100! The capital of Nunavut is Iqaluit, which means many fish in Inuktitut. They love their sea-related names, huh? Oh, 101! Someone from Nova Scotia is known as a blue noser. One would assume that this is due to cold weather in Nova Scotia, but since literally everywhere in Canada is cold, that feels slightly redundant to me. I feel freezing now even talking about it. I'm only joking, it's actually really hot in this VO booth. It's awful. I'd quite like to be in Canada now, actually, although now it's time for an N-board. That right there was 101 facts about Canada, and I don't know about you, but I had a lovely time finding out all about it. It's actually quite racist, I shouldn't really say that. If you want more videos just like that one, click on subscribe right now and you'll get exactly that. How exciting, you should definitely do it right now.